Netflix surging following earnings. Let's take it over to Craig Johnson. Is there even more upside ahead for the stock?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, the primary trend for Netflix is clearly higher, but at this point in time, you know, after a 13% advance, 21 points, I don't like to buy stocks that have gone up on a spike like this. I'd also just go back and look at history and point out in the second quarter of 15 earnings release and the third quarter of 16 earnings release, you saw big advances in the stock, similar to what you're seeing now, but then you ended up retracing about 50% of that advance in the sessions just following that earnings release. So if that was to happen, you could see the stock pull back toward about 168, maybe 170, somewhere in that range. That would be a better opportunity for me to step up and buy the stock. But over the next 12 months, yeah, there's more upside. Near term, wait for that pullback to initiate those positions.
Erin, Gibbs is here from S&P Global Market Intelligence. When you look at the stock, you hear what Craig said. Would you be a buyer at those levels if they were able to come back a little bit?
You know, we got out of Netflix a while ago. We just find it to be too volatile. It's tough to really day trade and get to those pullbacks as for most investors. You know, much like Craig said, it's a very volatile stock. And just to give you an idea, just because Netflix beat earnings this quarter, out of the last 8 quarters, they've missed 2 out of those 8, so a quarter of the time for earnings, and they've missed 5 out of 8 quarters when it comes to revenue, so actually missed estimates. So a company that is just for one quarter missing and the next quarter beating just isn't the type of company that we just generally want to recommend to our investors.
But don't you want to recommend stocks that are going way up? So, you know, if you just look at the chart, if you didn't think about it, if you just saw
I want something that goes way up consistently, not just day to day. So I like something with a little more stable, and it's also just priced to perfection at this point. So any little disappointment could have it go down. So yeah, it would really have to drop for us to see it attractive again.
But you got to admit, it's really a tricky thing to manage, right? Because if they're missing on earnings, you know, whether it's revenue or profits, whatever, and then you have that volatility, but then at the same time, it is setting record highs over and over again. Like, it's got to be very difficult for a fund manager to deal with something like that if their investors are saying, hey, I can't believe that you got out. This is my money I could have made off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. But I think that's one of the reasons we like to avoid a lot of the volatility, because it is so hard to time the tops and get out and avoid those bottoms and not let your stomach churn and make the decisions for you.
But that's why we have Craig here, because he can time the top for us, right? So exactly where is the top going to be, and what's that price? When's it going to happen?
Well, you're making new highs in here, so you don't really have any sort of overhead resistance. So at that point in time, it's going to be more of a valuation call than it is anything else. But at this point in time, until you see that longer-term uptrend break, I'm going to stick with that. Buy it on these pullbacks that you get, because that's the best opportunity to be buying this kind of stock, and continue to buy it until you get a long-term uptrend violation. That's what we like to do when we look at charts.
I like it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like Erin said, it's very volatile. It's got to be real stressful for people to figure out what that P&L is going to be day in, day out. My thanks to both of you for joining us here on Trading Nation. I'm Eric Chemi. We'll see you next time.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.